Hey, what's up everybody? This is Dano's World and I'm here to make a video about racism. Not necessarily about racism, but to inform people about, whites here in America and blacks here in America. And specifically talking about Black Americans, I'm talking about African Americans mainly, but also including Latinos and blacks from the Caribbeans, simply because they do have some historical relevance here in the United States. Like, they fought in some of our wars. People from Bahamas were drafted in U.S. wars just because they're part of our, they're not part of our territory, but also people from those islands down there, even people from Puerto Rico fought in some of our wars and stuff like that. So yeah, but this video is to let people know that when a white person comes to you and tell you to get out of the country, like you should leave, go back to Africa, stuff like that, there's a good chance that you have more historical relevance than that white person. The reason why I say that is because most people don't know this. 65% of the white population, which is majority of the white population, is a huge chunk of the white population, are of German descent. A lot of people don't know that the biggest ethnic group here in the United States is German. And that's not even talking about all of the other ethnic groups like Italian and a bunch of other ethnic groups other than people from the UK. 65% of those people are German heritage. Majority of the people of German heritage, the mass migration from Germany to the United States happened during the mid 1800s all the way up to the mid 1900s. It started around like 1830, but when the mass migration actually happened, it was like around 1840s all the way up to like the 1950s, around the time of the World Wars. You know what I'm saying? What people need to understand is that African Americans, not just African Americans, but Latinos, have more historical relevance here than majority of whites. So when whites tell you to go home, you tell them to go home. Like this guy right here, Donald Trump. He basically want everybody who's not white to get the fuck out of the country. He want Latinos to go home. He even has problems with Muslims and stuff like that. But a lot of people don't know that his parents are fucking immigrants. He's a first generation American. So why won't he take his ass back home? And I think he's of German descent. So it's like, take your ass back home. Because like majority of whites, like 65% of whites, you have less historical relevance here than blacks and Latinos. What I mean by historical relevance is we have more history here than majority of whites. Like I said, majority of whites came over here during the 1800s. They only been here for about 200 years. We have been here hundreds of years before them. We fought in every major war. We fought in every major war that the United States have been involved in. Starting all the way from the Revolutionary War all the way down to the modern wars. We have fought in every war. Every war that you can name it, we fought in it as African Americans. So we have more historical relevance than majority of whites. So when they tell you to go home, tell them to go home. Because there's a good chance that a person like him, of German descent, will tell you to go home. Sorry about that. I have allergies and it goes kind of bad. So let me drink my water real quick. Sorry about that. But anyway, so yeah, they tell you to go home. So it's a good chance that somebody like him, is telling you to go home. Someone of German descent, because they make up 65% of the white population. So it's like, don't tell me to go home. Why don't you go home? Because like I said, we have fought in every freaking major war that the United States have been involved in. Every war. And I just want to show you guys. I mean, you can find this in books and stuff like that, but I put up a couple websites. But yeah, it talks about the early migration of Europeans. The United States got like majority of the Europeans that came during the 1800s. Now they started coming over here in 1821. Majority of them started to come over here in the 1850s. If you read in most books will say 1850s is when a big bulk of them started to come. Talking coming in ships and stuff like that. But yeah, the biggest ethnic group here in the United States is German ancestry. And when you look at it, and when you look at the ancestry, and it's just other stuff talking about the mass migrations and stuff like that, German immigration, stuff like that. Majority of this, sorry, my bad. Yeah, so anyways, majority of them came over during the 1800s. We've been here way longer than that. We fought in every major world war, stuff like that. And that's just only talking about German Americans. We're not including the Italians, because Italians, majority of them came over in the 1800s. You know, so on and so forth. And people have to recognize that. People have to realize that, you know. And it's so funny because majority of whites have this entitlement type of attitude. They feel just because they're white, like Mr. Donald Trump, that they're more American than this man. They feel like they're more American than this family. He feels like he has more right to be here than this young female, when she doesn't. Because if we want to bring it to that level of who should be here and who shouldn't be here, definitely he wouldn't be here. And if we were to do that, blacks will have more right to be here. Latinos will have more rights to be here. Definitely Native Americans will have more right to be here. If we were to kick out everybody who wasn't here before the 1700s or even 1800, we're going to put it right on 1800, the year 1800, guess what? 65% of whites will be gone right now. So let's not talk about who should be here and who shouldn't be here. Because there's a good chance when a white person comes to you telling you, hey, get the fuck out of our country, guess what? You have more right to be here than that person. You have more history here. Your people have more history here than this guy right here. You know, it's funny because there's even white people who live in Europe who will tell a black person in America to get the fuck out of America as if they have the right, they have more right to be in America than we do, when they're not even in America and they have no history in America at all. It's so funny. But even whites here still shouldn't have that entitlement attitude, because 65% of them, no, even more than that, because we're only talking about the German groups. Italians, they don't have as much they have very little historical relevance here, just like Germans. And that's not even talking about all the other groups of people, Europeans that are here. But Germans alone make 65%. So majority of whites here have less historical relevance here. So when they tell you to go home, you tell them to go home. When you're in New York and an Italian tells you, get out of here, you jigaboo, go back home to Africa. Tell them to go back to Italy, because your people have been here way longer than them, and your people have more history here than they do. And you have to fact check their ass. And that's what I do on the often. And you know why I do that? Guess what? They shut the fuck up, or they go totally off subject because they got butt hurt. So it's very, very funny. So you have to inform yourself, blacks and Latinos. And I'm not talking about Africans. I'm not talking about people from Africa and stuff like that. No. Because if I were to include them, then the guys over in Europe have the same right to America as, you know, the American-born whites do. You know what I'm saying? That makes no fucking sense. So I'm talking about this whole thing of historical relevance. Our historical relevance does not roll over to Africa. It does not roll over to people in Ghana and stuff like that. Maybe some. Maybe some West Africans, because what a lot of people don't know is that a lot of shortly before slavery ended here, and even after slavery ended here, thousands of blacks went back to Africa, which was like probably the worst thing they could have done. And you know, Frederick Douglass talk about that. You know, talking about how if they tell you to go home, they want you dead. If they tell you to go back to Africa, that's the worst thing they can do to a black person. You know what I'm saying? And that came from Frederick Douglass. I don't know who named that. I hope I said Frederick Douglass, because he's the one who said something of the sort. So yeah, he all fucked up when y'all did that shit. But yeah, that's why some West Africans look like us and stuff. And don't tell me that that African Americans and Africans look the same, because we have our difference. And some people say we look the same based off of West Africans, not realizing that a lot of people in West Africa, especially in Liberia and places like Ghana, a lot of our people actually went over there. Like thousands of them went over there during the 1800s. So yeah, that's all. That's basically all I have to say. And the reason why I made this video was because I saw a Tariq Nasheed video of him in South Africa, and in the comment sections there was white people telling you to go back home, go back to Africa, get out of America, and so it was bullshit like that, not realizing that blacks have more right to be here than the majority of whites do. Same thing with Latinos. So yeah, that's all I have to say. You guys take care. Talk to you later.